So the great historian Howard Zinn tells this story of the civil rights organizer Ella Baker, who in 1963 is speaking to a group at the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, a voter registration drive in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And everybody, there's a feeling of excitement in the air, Zinn describes, that they're very close to winning the voting rights legislation and other civil rights victories. That means the kind of movement has met its goal, it's going to win. And Baker strides up to the front of this church and says, you know, winning the right to vote isn't freedom alone. She reminds people we need food, we need education, we need the ability to connect and think critically. She specifically mentions the white Mississippians who think they're free, but their freedom is tied to subordination and discrimination of black people in the South. She says that's not freedom. And she said there's a larger freedom that we're fighting for here, a freedom that encompasses all of humankind. And I thought how profound that is, that on this day when the kind of voting and economic and social lives of poor black people struggling in the South, that Baker understood that they were actually not just fighting for rights to join a system, they were at the vanguard of transforming so much of what needed to be transformed in the country. And that's what their task and duty was. And you can just see that consistently in so many social movements where people are arguing we are not just fighting for rights and inclusion within a system that's dominated us. Why would we want that? Why would we want what's happened to us to happen to someone else? Our duty, our goal, our role here is to transform this for everyone. This country has a long and often misunderstood history, little understood history of compulsory sterilization, involuntary sterilization. More than 60,000 people in the 20th century were involuntarily sterilized by state governments, primarily, under programs of eugenics. These programs start in the early 20th century, and the Nazis indeed learned from them and base much of their work on US scientists and policies. And what's so profound about especially women of color who struggle against these sterilization policies is they recognize it as a crime against humanity. They say, not only should you not do this to me, this shouldn't be done to anyone. And they struggle to eliminate the basis of these policies all across the 20th century. In the South, on native lands and against the Indian Health Service, in Los Angeles, among Latina women in the 1970s. They have a vision that that shouldn't be done to anyone, to anyone's body. And today, these forms of autonomy that we hopefully have for our bodies, in many ways, we can explain and thank these earlier struggles because they had a vision that exceeded these terrible, terrible forces they were facing. And that's what I mean when I talk about a wider type of freedom.